research on the impact of porn on people. And this is Gary Wilson. His website is yourbrainonporn.com. He has a lot to say about the topic. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, so yeah, this show is about relationship and about connecting with real people. And you know something about a problem that arises that's actually an obstacle in our relationship with people, which is people, men in particular, and particular young men sitting in front of the computer and masturbating to pornography.
Yeah, what's going on is, as we know with the rise of the Internet, we now have, of course, Internet porn, high-speed Internet porn. And what I have been seeing, because so many websites linked to mine where guys are discussing this, is that they are finding the screen much more exciting than the real thing. In other words, they are becoming compelled by the screen, just like young guys are being compelled by video games. These young guys are also being compelled and more interested in Internet porn than they are real women or real partners. And they are concerned. And so they may have been using Internet porn since they're 12, and now it's 17, and they're going out on their first date, and they take their clothes off, and they can't get it up. And they're going, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Then they do a search, and they find out those years of brain training have trained their brain to need to sit and watch and be a voyeur and need a certain level of stimulation in order to get sexually excited. That's when they make a change. And so what this problem is, it's a problem of being hooked on what is artificial rather than what is real.
Thank you.
So you have them get off porn, and it takes about 2, 3, 4, 5 months of no porn, and interesting enough, no masturbation, because they're so desensitized. I don't know why that is. And slowly, their sexual performance comes back, their erections come back.
As they are abstaining from porn?
Yeah, they have to abstain from it, or they'll never return to normal. They'll have ED, I guess, for the rest of their life. Some have had ED for 10 years.
Let's define addiction. How often is addiction? What if somebody watches porn once a week? That may not be addiction. Let's define it for the viewer here.
Well, you can't define. Addiction is the continued use in spite of negative consequences. So here's the problem, is if you continue to use, and you started at age 11 using porn every day, high-speed porn, and you're 20, and you've used it every day, you don't know the negative consequences until you stop. And so that's what's so surprising for these thousands of guys, is that once they stop, they have more energy, their confidence goes up, their social anxiety goes away, their interest in real girls go up, and for many of them, because the reason they quit is because of erectile dysfunction, that also remits. So if you don't know, if you never stop, you don't know what the negative consequences were. You just assume that's how you are. That's you. That's social anxiety, lack of confidence, no motivation to study or go get some job.
Sure. But is porn bad in every way? Or does porn have actually something to offer?
Porn cannot be defined, because what we're talking about is the reward circuitry, which is an ancient circuitry in the middle of the brain, and it doesn't know what porn is. It only knows levels of stimulation. So for one person, they may be looking at feet, and that stimulates them. And another person, they might be looking at bestiality.
Yes,
and that
the
stimulates
fetish.
them. Yeah. Or another person, for example, we had this one gentleman who only looked at swimsuit models. Now, is that porn? Most people don't think so. But he looked through 2,000 to 3,000 pictures per masturbation session.
Wow.
Maybe
2,000 to 3,000 pictures per masturbation
So
session.
he needed click, 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 several windows open, several tabs, clicking through them all, looking at them. That's the stimulation he ended up needing in order to get sexually excited. So
Right.
are people in swimsuits porn? Probably not.
No.
It's the
How
level
easy.
of stimulation
Sure.
that causes brain changes, that leads to dysfunctions. So you can't really define even what porn is anymore.
No, but if you're using it in a way that you always need more, I mean, I think that's an aspect of addiction. That
Escalation.
Escalation. You always need more, like a bottomless pit. You know, then you are in an addictive cycle. But for some people, watching a particular erotic or porn movie may open up new doors in their relationship for people to look at that. So it's how you use it.
It's how you use it, but another big aspect is how it's delivered. So we can't use the word porn anymore. We can use porn, and then we can use high-speed internet porn. That's a completely different animal, and that's the only one I deal with. I don't deal with people sitting around and watching Playboy or people going to the local theater and watching it. These are kids I say because they're in their teens, adolescents, and they have trained their brains on high-speed porn. High-speed means they don't have to sit there and wait for 10 minutes for one picture to download. Instead, they have high definition, several tabs open, clicking between the tabs, fast-forwarding to their favorite part, and then when their excitement starts to drop, they click open another window for a new genre that will jump and get their excitement going up. This could not be done before high-speed internet porn, and this is the brain training that's going on. So the discussion for me is high-speed internet porn and how that differs from everything before. Because look at it. We've had written words. We've had pictures. Were they addictive? Put them together. You have Facebook, and now you have the ability to click, 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 and people are getting addicted to words and pictures.
Yes.
So it's a different type of medium with a different type of delivery.
Gary, you're coming to this as a therapist, right?
No, I'm not a therapist.
You're not a therapist.
I'm a physiology and pathology teacher who got drugged into this,
I see.
not wanting to do anything with it.
This is an area of research.
Yeah, so I've taught anatomy and physiology for about 20 years, and of course I taught neurobiology many, many times. About 12 years ago, I met my wife, and my wife, we wrote some books together, and they had to do with the neurobiology of sex, bonding, and all those events occur in the reward circuit, and that's the same place that addiction occurs, where the reward circuit changes. So I became very familiar looking at all the science and the abstracts and the research of this area.
And you collected all of this on this website called
Your Brain on Porn.
Your Brain on Porn.
Not actually. What happened is about 6 years ago on my wife's site, which was about sexuality and couples, all of a sudden Google put together the words sex and addiction and orgasm, and these guys started showing up on the forum and saying, we're addicted to porn, or I have erectile dysfunction, what do we do? And my wife, who is running the forum, says, I don't know. And since Google put those posts together, more and more started showing up, and finally we decided a few years into it to write a few articles about it. Well, then even more showed up, and eventually we wrote a few articles about guys recovering from erectile dysfunction, guys recovering from social anxiety by giving up porn, and then that site exploded. And my wife finally said, could you please organize all this material, because she has a very disorganized site, and put it over on a new site, and that's what we did. We put the guys' stories and the questions, and then things exploded. All of a sudden my site became very popular, Your Brain on Porn, and I followed all the links back to the other sites that were linking to it. Virtually none of them were porn recovery sites. They were all sites where guys congregate, like pickup artist sites, or sex sites, or sports sites.
Would you consider your site as a porn recovery site?
Yes, it would be.
Also for people who have worked in the industry?
No. It's only for guys who...
Why not, actually? It could be. I mean, if you have been shooting as an actor, you've been shooting porn as an actor or an actress for most of your life, and I come to you.
I say, don't come to me.
Okay.
This is for guys who are hooked on internet porn.
Okay.
It's not for, we don't even deal with people in the industry or the moral stuff. Or
but there's
like
problems there too, you can recognize that.
I guess I don't study that.
Okay.
I really know nothing about it.
Okay.
My focus is just simply guys, and I say guys as if girls aren't involved, but we only have guys who show up,
yes.
Males. So what I found out following these links, just to continue, is that it's huge. Followed these links, thousands of websites in about 40 different countries. Some of the threads were 10,000 posts long, and all these guys were pretty much discussing sexual dysfunction. They're in their late teens, 20s, and a few in their 30s. And they're saying, my God, I can't get it up anymore. I'm 25. What do you think the problem is? And then someone would put in a link to your brain on porn, and they go, oh my God, that's me. Mm-hmm. So that was the big aha moment for me. I really saw that this might be a very significant problem for the younger generation.
Especially younger men.
Absolutely. Because here's the little thing, is we've had a few older men who, in their 40s and 50s, who have porn-induced ED. They give it up, their sexual function comes back. These guys can recover in 6 to 8 weeks. The older guys, 40 and 50. The younger guys can take 3, 4, up to 9 months to recover. And their testosterone's higher. And of course, we know how it is when you're 18. I mean, everything's a lot higher, if you know what I mean. And they take longer to recover. So the question is, why is that? Is because the difference between the two groups is these guys already had their sexuality.
The older guys.
The older guys already had sex and all their circuits developed before they started.
They started it, got it. And well, the other ones, this is how they came to it.
They came to it and did it for years before they even had a real relationship.
What advice do you want people to know about this? Let's say people are watching and they are finding themselves watching porn every day and masturbating. What do you want to say to them?
Well, the easy advice is to understand how it affects you, or to see if it has affected you, is to stop it. It's really that simple. Stop it for several months and see the differences. If there aren't any differences, you can make up for lost time, go back and use plenty of porn. But that is the key thing, is to stop and see how it's affected you. What happens if you truly are addicted is you'll go through withdrawal symptoms and feel worse for the first even few months. Guys who are truly addicted enter what they call a flat line, it's common vernacular, is they lose their libido, they swear that their penises shrink up, and they have no sexual desire whatever. And then all of a sudden, after about 6 to 8 weeks, they slowly come out of that loss of libido and go up to a plateau, and all of a sudden real girls start looking exciting. And they're starting to get spontaneous erections again, and they're starting to want to chase real partners. So the key thing is to stop using porn. That's how you find out if it's affected you.
Stop using porn.
Yeah.
Yes. And then just see.
Yeah, just see. And if you can't stop, clearly you have an addiction.
That's right. That's right.
It should be easy to stop.
Now, there's a lot of people who are actually not single, but they're in a relationship, they're in a marriage, and they're finding, they are turning to porn. They're married, and the wife doesn't think it's really cheating, or they're not sure whether it's cheating, but they feel cheated somehow, right? The partner feels cheated, the man goes to porn, and it takes energy away from the intimacy, from the relationship. Can you comment on that?
Well, since all my data or all my information really comes from guys, the guys who are married and in relationship, they often show up again to quit because they're having sexual problems. When they quit, they notice that all of a sudden their partner, who they thought was boring, is now exciting once again as they take several weeks to eliminate the porn. they find them attractive again. And so that's the big thing we see. We don't often hear the stories of the women. Occasionally women will show up and write and say, oh, you know, he's so into porn, you know, he doesn't get excited for me. But the guys see a big difference, and they're very happy about it, to have a renewed relationship.
They do. Yeah. If they make the decision to stop.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is we see not so many in their 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. It's mostly the young guys who are showing up. Mm-hmm. So,
have you talked to people in the porn industry, or to producers, or I was actually thinking about inviting people from kink.com to our conversation, and just have them hear what's the other side of what they're doing, what's the result of what they're doing. I mean, they're in their own vision of producing this, and it's financially very rewarding. It's good for those people, I think, to hear what you have to say. They may not want to listen, but
yeah, I mean, I don't have any moral qualms about porn. It was, 5 years ago, it was like, porn, I don't care. And I don't care. I don't care what anyone does. So it's not in my background. I have no religious background. So I wouldn't have a debate with anyone. I'm fine with everyone doing whatever they want. My concern was to fill a gap. And there's a gap of knowledge, a huge one, between what is being said and the reality. So what I mean is, what's being said is that no amount of porn can cause problems. There's no such thing as porn addiction. Using porn consistently cannot cause a problem. Well, this is false. It's clearly false because we have tens of thousands of guys who are eliminating a single variable, porn use, and seeing tremendous benefits. Mm-hmm. So clearly, it is causing problems. So the big gap, the big meme out there is that it can't cause problems.
Yes.
And if there's any objection to porn use, I don't have an objection, but if there is one, it has to be based on something moral or religious. So the huge gap is filled in, and the young guys show up and they say, oh my God, I was told that porn was healthy. So here's the way they think. They think masturbation equals healthy, okay? Since masturbation and porn are synonymous for this younger generation, that means porn is healthy. Mm. And since you're young and you don't think things through, you think, well, more is more healthy.
Sure.
And that's where they end up using a lot.
Where should these guys go to get support for abstaining? I haven't heard of a 12-step program that focuses on this. This would be actually a good thing, I think. There is Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. There is Codependence Anonymous. There is all kinds of relationship addiction groups. There should be a group for porn addicts as well. What do you think?
Well, there is. My site is not that, but it has links to other sites. There's huge sites where young guys are actually
not a site, an actual group where you meet face to face in the room. If in the room, sitting in a circle, this creates more healing. We were talking about it with a woman last week here in an interview who says women need actually the physical coming together. It's very healthy to not just sit behind a computer. It's actually healthy to come together and meet in a room, and that's what 12-step people do.
Yeah, I agree with you. That would probably be very healthy, but it's unlikely to happen because there's shame associated with it. So since the guys are young guys who live in an internet age, most of them prefer to go on the internet and write. The ones do mention, okay, I've gone to a 12-step, but they've gone to a sex addiction.
Yes, for people who go to prostitutes or are addicted to a partner, yes.
Yeah, and that's a completely different animal than starting on internet porn at age 11 and not being able to stop at age 18. So yeah, I would agree with you. It would be great if they had some place to meet, but I don't know of any. You're right.
Are you running groups
in
your area?
No, I don't do that. I'm not a therapist.
No, but you could be a group facilitator.
Nope, I won't.
You won't.
I'm a teacher. That's my job. So I teach. I give them the science behind addiction and the science behind their symptoms. And when they learn that, it's really a benefit because they can detach and say, oh, you know, it's my primitive brain that's causing me to want to sit here and click from picture to picture. And they see that that primitive brain is in charge. Or they say, oh, my frontal cortex is inhibited. It's not functioning fully, which happens in all addictions. And that's why I keep relapsing. So they can detach, and they can almost see their brain doing things it doesn't want to. They have a term, they call it their scumbag brain that's making them do this.
Gary, you're very insightful, and I think it is so great what you're doing. When I first saw your website, it was like a few years ago, I was very happy, and I posted it on my Facebook page, and I ended up coming to you and having you here. How did you get to this passion? I mean, you're very passionate actually about it. You're very passionate about the topic and helping people or providing this information. What in your life has propelled you to gain knowledge about this?
Well, if you saw me teach anatomy, you know I'd be passionate about the femur. So when I'm teaching, I'm passionate. But what happened was, again, it came down to all these young guys showing up on my wife's site, and then several of them being suicidal, wanting to kill themselves, thinking their life is lost. And we see this over and over again, the thousands of young men who feel that their sexuality is ruined, that they're not going to be able to get attracted to a real female, they're not going to be able to have real sex. And that's my passion now, is to try to fill this gap, because there's a lot of people suffering. I'm not out there to stop porn, I'm out there to educate so that the people who want to get over some of these symptoms caused by excessive porn use can find the information and do it. There's a lot of guys suffering out there, a lot. So that's behind my passion. Dopamine is what gives you the motivation and the urge and the excitement to do something. So over time, in any type of addiction, your dopamine levels and sensitivity drop in the part of the brain. So you need more and more stimulation to have the same effect. And then the other thing happens is you wire your brain, actually nerve cells connect to wire in Pavlovian, super Pavlovian memories of your addiction. For example, if you're an alcoholic and you've quit and you've been like 90 days sober and you're walking down the street, all of a sudden you walk by a bar, you hear some clanking of glass and the smell of alcohol, all of a sudden you get this urge to drink. It's activated these unconscious memories that are powerful, and they overwhelm the reward circuitry by spiking dopamine real high and saying, go get it. So what you have is a double-edged sword. Low dopamine and less pleasure in everyday activities, and yet super high spiking of reward for that one single thing that you became addicted to. And that is the nature of addiction. And the final change is the higher part of our brain becoming weaker, so we have less willpower. It's called the frontal cortex. So those things working together are the center, the main attributes of all addictions.
Very clear. You really understand addiction. It's very, very clear how you just explained that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if we look at the traditions of what people have done, as you said, connecting with other people, that's a big one. And
it replaces these needs, because they're in solitude. The addiction flourishes in solitude, in isolation.
Exactly. And what happens is you have dopamine, and so once you get off the addiction, your dopamine drops even further. Now you're craving things, and the one thing that will do it is your addiction. But now you can replace that reward with human contact. So that's one big thing, socialization. We tell guys, you've got to socialize. The next thing is exercise. Exercise actually elevates the dopamine, and it makes more what are called dopamine receptors in the brain. Another thing that occurs is meditation. Meditation increases dopamine too and keeps the levels high. So those are some of the things that
I would add one, also creative expression.
Yes.
Art. Music, making beautiful things, especially for those that are artistically inclined. really helps you connect with your own beauty, with your own essence, and takes away the need for those addictions, for drama. It's very powerful.
Yeah, because addiction is really replacing the natural rewards. We don't have a reward circuit that evolved for addictions. It evolved for natural rewards, which were all those things you just discussed, along with food and sex and other things. And what these guys find out is once they stop that addiction, those creative things actually come and rise up. They say, oh my God, I'm starting to write again. I'm starting to play my musical instrument again. I've started to program. I'm going out and doing this and that and dancing. So those things just naturally rise as a replacement for the addiction.
So can porn addiction be healed? Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, porn addiction can be healed.
Absolutely. And I think guys have a better appreciation. They've gone through it, they get off it, and they now see how great real life is. And that's where you get true sex positive, is now sex or interaction with a real partner becomes much more satisfying than it was before.
So Gary, we've been talking with you. Can people actually contact you? Can they find you, or do you not want people to contact you?
Well, everything I know is on my website, and so it's a well-organized website. There's video presentations that describe everything. So if they go to yourbrainonporn.com, they can find all the information. It's a secular site. There's no advertising, nothing, no monetary anything. And they can also find links to other forums where guys are recovering from porn.
What a gift, Gary. Thank you for all the work you've done, for giving people hope that they can get out of, because you said men wanted to kill themselves.
Yes,
because this is a really bad addiction, and there is hope. You can get completely sober from porn addiction. Thank you for everything you do.